Hey, yo, internets, you are listening to the Combat Jack Show, the Combat Jack Show podcast. How y'all doing out there? What's going on, man? It's the end of summer. Y'all feeling good? Did y'all have an energetic summer? Did y'all go on vacation? Saying, did y'all work all through this? Did y'all make money? You know what I'm saying? Like, you know, they say that cuffing season is coming up. We'd like to hear.
I'm here for it.
Like, we'd like to hear how your summer was, King. Where can they call in, man, to tell us how their summer was, man?
347-746-2080.
Yeah, man. Call us on the Combat Jack Show hotline bling. Hotline and let us know how your summer was, man. You know, I had a great summer, a lot of changes, you know what I'm saying? Still coming off the high of Mogul and, you know, we kind of had half a tour, right? We kind of had a half a Combat Jack Show live tour.
We hit the West Coast for the first time.
West Coast, what up?
Dope.
And then where else did we hit, man?
I mean,
we hit
ATL.
New York and the ATL, and that was it. I mean, you know,
kept it low key. But we got demand. We was demanded in a lot of different.
They want us to come out to Chicago, Miami, DC, Boston. I don't know about Boston though, man.
Not now.
This country is real incendiary, and you know the racists are all emboldened, and Boston was the first place ever in my life when I was 8 years old, when my Haitian family was like the first black family living on this block in Boston, and this little white boy by the name of Patrick Stretch was like nigga, and I didn't know what the word meant.
And you remember his name?
I mean, I remember Patrick Stretch. What's up, Pat? If any of y'all out there in Boston know my man Patrick Stretch, I think he's working in the hospital industry right now. Tell him that Combat Jack said, what's up? You know what I'm saying? It's all water under the bridge. This was years ago. But you are the very first person, Patrick, to ever call me the word nigga, and I appreciate that because I learned a lot after that. You know what I'm saying? But anyway, so I'm a little scared about Boston. Not saying, you know, no shots to my, you know, to our listeners out in Boston, but y'all, you're a little scary. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, Ken, what's going on with you, man?
Oh man, chilling. I just want to give condolences out to one of our homies, one of our supporters from the West Coast, Mr. Morris, at Mr. Morris 55 on Twitter, Instagram.
Yes, condolences to you and your family, man.
He lost his brother.
Yes, sir.
You know, so just want to salute and prayers up, man.
And thank you, man. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like it's kind of weird, man. Like a lot of people, it's weird, man. Like there's a lot of people that support the show. There's a lot of people that I deal with online, man. And I really feel like, you know, over the years when you build like this genuine digital kinship with them, man, it's love and it's support, man. And Mr. Morris has always been there for us, man. And we see you, man. And you know, let us know what we can do, Bree. Yep. All right.
Go to GoFundMe.
Oh, you're right. There's a GoFundMe
that's Mena.
link.
Yeah. What's the GoFundMe link?
We'll put it in the description.
Okay. Yeah. Definitely support Mr. Morris and his family during these hard times, man. I love this guest right here, man. This dude is one of the sharpest cats on many different media platforms. Sharp. Like, you know, like I get jealous because y'all hear me kind of like stumble through my words, but when I listen to cats like Charlemagne and particularly this brother right here, man,
Eloquent.
I'm like, why can't why am I not that quick? Why am I not that sharp? You know what I'm saying? Why does it take me time to build it up? And it's, you know what I'm saying? And I appreciate, you know what I'm saying, this brother's consistent fearlessness, you know, against all the fuckery that goes on in this country and in society, and just his vigilance. You know what I'm saying? Constantly about addressing all issues, all types of crazy issues. So without further ado, let's welcome to the Combat Jack Show, Mr. Bomani Jones.
Yeah. What's going on, man?
What's up, Bomani?
Hey, man, just, you know, hanging around the neighborhood.
Yeah, I mean, you just moved to New York,
I'm
man.
here, man.
How do you like New York, man?
It's a lot, man. Like, I think that's the ultimate conclusion that I have drawn from this is that it's a lot. So, like, I remember we got a buddy, Ken Gibbs, right? He told me something when he moved to New York. He was
from Boston.
He is from Boston, yes, he is.
And let me just interrupt. Ken Gibbs told me, he was like, yo, Ken Gibbs recently was like, yo, be careful about doing a show out in Boston. Like, Ken told me that recently. So anyway, shout out to Ken Gibbs anyway.
But I remember when he moved to New York, he told me, he was like, look, man, it takes you about a year to like really get up to speed to New York. It's like gonna take you about a year to get your gear right and all this stuff. I'm like, what you mean you need a year to get your gear right? Man, you just wind up going so many places. You do wind up needing like more gear. Right. Like everything is more and kind of accelerated here. I had a whole lot of walking too. I sold my car before I came up here, and I ain't gonna lie.
Which is a smart move though.
Yeah. It hurt, and it was definitely smart, but it didn't feel good. And after about a week and a half of being here, I was like, look, man, I just need a day off from all this walking, man. This was.
You get used to it, man.
Yeah. Like it's a little better now, but I mean, it definitely. I need to get into playing shape if I'm gonna live here without the car that I had to sell.
I find it fascinating that the first time you were on the show about 3 or 4 years ago, you said that you wouldn't leave North Carolina. And then the last time you were on the show, you had just moved to Miami. Yeah. And now you're in New York, man. Right. Isn't that funny how life takes you?
But I always said that. I said I wasn't leaving North Carolina until I had to.
Yes.
And I absolutely rode that all the way out. Because I was in a place where I could do everything that I wanted to do while I was there and at those prices. Yeah. Right? So there was no reason for me to leave where I was at the time. Then you just reached a point where I looked around and was just like, okay, really, there's not much more for me to do here. So I had a couple job options, wound up taking the one in Miami.
Which is a great job option.
It's not bad. It's not bad. It's a weird place to live, though.
Why?
Right?
Why?
But at least where I was, right, it's so transient, right? It's so many, it's built for people to drop in for a few days. It isn't quite as built for people to live.
It's kind of like Vegas, I would imagine.
Yeah, I think there's a similar sort of quality that we have. Now, I also readily admit that there's a certain part of the Miami experience that I might have missed out on because I effectively priced myself out of my people. I figured, look, if I'm going to live in Miami, I might as well live on the beach because this is the one thing I can do here. You can't do anything else. The beach kind of becomes an isolating sort of place.
And Florida's a crazy place, though.
Yeah,
Florida's crazy.
Yeah, well, Miami. When I first moved down there, somebody who'd been there for a little while told me, it's like, this is different. And, by and large, man, all these places are the same. Yes. Like, they got differences, but they're not really different. Nah, man, that was different. Like Miami is like the one that's not like the other. It's like a city-state almost. Like New Orleans is like that too, whereas like New Orleans is not even like the town that's next to it. Miami is very similar in that regard. So, 4 years there was a good 4 years.
I would imagine it was exhausting though.
Yeah, but see, I'm low key, right? Like, if I had moved there in my mid-20s, like I moved there, I was right before I turned 33. And I was kind of done with a whole lot of that, like, go. If I moved there when I was like 25, it probably would have been a different sort of situation. Right. But I was kind of out of turn-up zone, right? And I was there to do something pretty clear. Like, I was there to grind.
Of course.
Which, by the way, puts you in an odd place in Miami because people go to Miami to spend money. Yeah. They don't really do a lot of going to Miami to make money. Right. Like, so when you're the one that's on the grind, you're almost out of step with the rhythm of everything that's going on.
So did you feel out of place?
I wouldn't say out of place. I'm good wherever, right? Yeah. Like you drop me, I'll find what my lane is, what it is. But the things that typically attract people to Miami are not necessarily the things that at that point, at least, that was like what I wanted to do or what I was in it, what I was in it for.
Understood. So, now it's funny, man. I was reading one of your tweets from a couple of weeks ago, man, and you were saying that this myth that New Yorkers unfriendly.
Yeah, that's
it's
not
just
true.
Not true. Like, give us what experience to change your. Did you have that perspective? Did you think that we were rude motherfuckers?
Yes, because here's the thing about it: the New Yorkers that you guys export to go to other places, they are assholes, right? And all they want to tell you.
We don't export anybody. It's motherfuckers that can't make it here.
Right.
And they go someplace else. They're like, I'm from New York, motherfucker.
Right. But here's the thing. Those are y'all's representatives, right? They have been dispatched everywhere.
I agree.
And once we get them, that's all we know of y'all is the people we get.
What is it about New York motherfuckers where they go someplace else? They got to announce, I'm from New York, motherfucker.
Yeah, because that's what they got.
Ego. It's ego. It's pride. It's in most cases,
I think it's lack of confidence.
If you go to Atlanta or you go to the South, it's slower pace, right? Yeah. A lot of cats from New York, they're not used to that.
Yeah, but it's what they got on their resume. That's what it is. It ain't about the pace.
They're boastful, very boastful.
It's what they got on the resume. Like they showing up and they deciding to look, this is the thing I got over y'all is that I'm from New York, which we typically don't care
Which
about.
means nothing.
No.
Yeah. I remember years ago when I was going to Georgetown Law. And I was younger. I was so much younger. And I was like, nigga, I'm from New York. And them niggas started swinging back.
Yeah.
And that shit hurt.
Yeah.
I was like, I'm not from New York anymore. Southern niggas gets down.
Yeah. No. If you don't like where I stay, fly away.
Yes.
Right? Like,
yes,
the cats are not here for the nonsense of it. But I do find that people here, like, there's a much more neighborly sort of feel to New York than people, I think, give it credit for. Now, if you wind up in one of these spaces where people got somewhere to be, like, that seems to be the biggest issue.
That's what it is.
That people have somewhere to be.
We don't have time to, like key if you got to go someplace.
Right. But see, like, if you show up to New York, like, when I first started showing up here for, different reasons, like, my brother lives up here. I didn't have anywhere to be. So if you don't have anywhere to be, then you are moving on the rhythm of somebody who's got all the time in the world.
Like our tourists.
Right, which nobody else has here. Right. Everybody else has somewhere that you need to go. Now,
it's go time.
Now, when you get to wherever it is that you are supposed to go, it's all good. On the way, gets a little dicey. People can be a little charged up about it. But no, overwhelmingly, man, I find people to be much friendlier here than they were in Miami. Like, not even close.
I would agree, man. How are the women treating you here, man?
Oh, man, you know, I've been doing it. I mean, I think the best way that I would put this is, generally speaking, it goes okay and people are very nice and friendly. And I would say the city has been a continuation of that.
That's beautiful, man.
Yeah.
That's beautiful, man. Times have changed since the last time you were on here, man.
Yeah, I guess about 2 years ago was the last time?
2 years ago. I mean, like, you really, like, blew the fuck up, man. Has your personal life changed? Has things changed for you? Like, how does it feel, man, just minding your business, walking through the airport, or just, you know, or now going to the bodega? You go to the bodega, man?
Oh, I still do. I don't see how you can't. Right?
Do motherfuckers stop and go, oh my God, that's Bomani?
Well, what's happening now, like I moved to Harlem, right? And so like.
Why not Brooklyn, dude?
I mean, it'll be there.
What the fuck?
It'll be there. Well, my brother lives in Harlem, so like I wanted to be kind of somewhere. Because if I lived in Brooklyn and he lived in Harlem, I would never see him. Like, the weekends is the only time.
So it's that
that
proximity
you catch up.
Family thing.
Yeah, well, proximity part of it too. And also, like, I mean, I like that part of town. Like, that was at the very least. Like, Brooklyn gonna be there. We'll see what's up, you know, at some point.
What's your brother do?
He works in creative marketing for a textbook company.
Okay.
So,
creative marketing for a textbook
company. Yeah, it sounds somewhat ironic, but you know.
Yeah, it's like this sounds. It's a sexy job for some.
Textbook. Life is a funny thing, right?
Yeah.
Life's a funny
thing.
So
does he like create like ill covers and shit?
Well, yeah, they'll do videos and copy and, you know, like that sort of stuff. Because, you know, the book, here's the thing, the books still have to be marketed. People still got to decide
schools
that they're
have
buy
to buy,
And, you know, you're dealing with college kids in large measure.
So does he fuck with the covers like Columbus was a snake?
Yeah, that would be actually a very good question if he could get in there and tweak it. But no, but like I was walking outside today and a dude stopped when he saw me. He was like, yo, like, you really live in the hood, like right here, man. Like the idea that I would actually live in a place where he could just be walking up and down the street seemed to like really throw him. Like that's the thing that's been interesting. Like the people that I've seen around where I live who have recognized me have been really on some like welcome to the neighborhood sort of thing. So like that one's a little bit different. But over the years,
which I find kind of odd because New York is one of those few places, right, where you could be anywhere unless it's like the hood. You could walk any place and you'll see a familiar face like a celebrity in the whole line and be like, oh shit, my man lives up the block. Or, you know what I'm saying? I live in the neighborhood. Yeah.
Yeah, but the way it's received though is like, so it's totally different than like the airport, right?
They don't know where you live though.
No. I take steps. I take steps on that. Yeah. But like in the airport, people.
It's still not all good here, B.
No, it's not all good anywhere. Yeah. Right? Like here's the thing, when people know where you live, like everything is there. The well-intentioned, the bad-intentioned, it's all wide open, right? Yeah. Had to get the doorman. Yeah. After you live with a doorman, you don't go back to no. The doorman was essential.
But what's the good and what's the bad of you having a higher profile?
The good, I would say, is there are people whose work that I might like really be into, admire, whatever way it is, and it is far more likely now that they know who I am, which then makes it easier to approach and like discuss things.
Like, oh even shit, we're peers now?
Right. Like even if I just want to geek out and do some like fan type shit, like it's more likely that I can get into a position to do that than before. The downside is, so if you're a type like that O.J. Simpson 30 for 30, I thought what was fascinating about it is how O.J. wanted to be famous. O.J. wanted to walk in these rooms and be mobbed by all these people, right? So like with TV, I always feel like there's two kinds of people. There's people who got in it to be on TV, and then there's people who wound up on TV. Right. And like the people who got in it to be on TV, they bathe in it, right? Like they're walking out every day expecting for somebody to recognize them. They talk loud as hell at the counter because like that is what they want. I'm not built like that, right? So by and large, people are very nice and very kind when they come up, but it's kind of weird knowing that, like, at any given point in time, like, you're talking on the phone somewhere, you might not be able to talk like other people can talk randomly amongst places because there are people who are listening, right? Course. Like, and you never know who those people happen to be. So, you know, as someone who doesn't necessarily need to be looked at, being looked at more is not necessarily the best thing in the world. Any
stalkers? Any issues with that, man?
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, tell us about that.
The problem is they don't stop stalking, right? Like, they'll be right here.
What the
listening to this.
That shit, I can't even understand what the fuck that is. I mean, I had this one incident a couple of years ago. It was not even a stalker. It was just, I was at South by Southwest. And I was at this party, and this Asian chick was like, "Oh my God, you're a Combat Jack." And I was like, "Yeah." And the whole fucking night, she stared at me, and it wasn't like one of those comfortable.
Yeah.
I was like, "Is she gonna try to fucking stab me?"
Right.
That was the extent of it. But like, what's your situation, B?
I mean, like I say, there have been a couple of things that have happened at various points.
Emails, calls.
No calls. Haven't had calls.
Get airdrop.
Emails, kind of. Like I've had to like call some people and be like, "Hey, would you mind
investigating,
looking into this one, please?" Could you
That's got to be fucking
out?
disturbing, B.
Yeah, it's different, right? But see, the thing I always do remember about this though is that we laugh and marvel about this idea. You talk more and more to like women who work in the TV game, just about all of them have had like multiple real ones, right? Like they can just sit there and trade
like
stories.
these men out here are creeps. Like men out here. I've heard some stories from women celebrities, and that shit is like,
oh yeah,
like when we talk about white privilege.
Oh no, man privilege.
Like male privilege is a fucking great thing to have.
Yeah. Man privilege is a monster, and like you'd be surprised how many women are not using their legal names on television.
Yeah.
Like you go out, like people you go out with them, and the credit card got a different name than the one that you have been introduced as, because the stakes are too high for them to be out here with their names out there in the streets. Yeah. No. It's wild, right? And the thing, part of it too, that doesn't get discussed enough is there ain't really that much you can do to like hide your address.
No, not at all.
There's
not in this age.
There's not much you can do. There's not much you can, I mean, unless you're not going to register to vote, maybe not get a driver's license. That one can be a little tricky, but if you're going to buy a house, you're going to need to buy a house through some sort of company or something, because all these things are out there. Like I remember this was a few years ago, I was giving away, when I was selling t-shirts, and I was trying to give some away, and I was like, all right, first person to tell me my middle name gets a t-shirt. And some dude responded with it and was like, yeah, I just looked up the property tax rolls.
Hey, yo, internets, this week's episode of the Combat Jack Show is brought to you by Bombfell. Whether it's online or at brick and mortar, shopping online could be hell. But now there's a better way, and it's Bombfell. Bombfell is an online personal stylist service that helps men find the right clothes for them. Listen, man, I know how hard it is when you're in the crunch. Unlike any other services, there are no fees to work with them, so it costs nothing to sign up. It's simple and it's straightforward. All you got to do is complete a questionnaire, and a dedicated personal stylist will handpick pieces specifically styled for you. No Bondulu pieces, official pieces. And then, once you've viewed your selections, you'll have 48 hours to make any changes or even cancel altogether. You're in total control, and you only pay for the clothes you keep. Plus, you have the option of receiving clothes once every 1, 2, or 3 months, because Bombfell is on your side, and they don't make money if you don't find something you want to keep. I'm going to tell you, man, you know, the best thing about Bombfell, man, is I tried it out a couple of weeks ago, man. Cass was like, yo, where you get that new polo piece? Yo, listen, shh. But now, you know, I'm about spreading the wealth, you know, Brooklyn, spread love, all of that. Yo, Bombfell is a place you got to go. Yo, best of all, internets, we've negotiated with Bombfell to get our listeners a special 25% off your first purchase when you go to bombfell.com/Jack. That's BOMBFELL.com/Jack. Listen, you know, you've seen what we've done with other brands, and y'all trust other brands that we bring you. This service right here is Bombfell. The right fit is waiting for you at Bombfell. What is your middle name, sir?
Babatunde.
Babatunde.
Yeah.
Bomani Babatunde.
Jones.
There
we go.
That's a smooth name, man.
And it's in the property tax rolls.
There you go.
That's the thing.
That's crazy.
They can come get you. Anybody can come find you, really. It's tricky.
So is it more difficult for you to interact socially? Like do you have a sense of paranoia when you're out socially and it's like, yo, are people vibing with me because it's me, or people vibing with me because they know it's me?
No, I don't worry about that, because, I mean, perhaps I'm viewing the world through a self-indulgent lens, but I think I'm a pretty viable cat, right? Like, I'm sure there are certain people whom I have met who have responded to me differently than they would if this were like how I was kicking in like 2010 or something like that, right? Like, there's probably some of them. My thing about, I've always felt like being on TV and stuff like that is, yeah, you're going to get some that just want somebody with some bread, but nobody really has a good idea how much money I do or don't make. Like, I'm not, like, if you hunting for bread, I'm probably not the way for you to go, right? I'm not, at least I'm not like readily identifiable as that person. But what I do think happens is you get on TV or whatever it is, is somebody that might have been rocking with you if you had been at the office with them or if they had seen you in the mall, but they got no way of knowing who you are. You got no way of coming across them in any sort of way. Boom. You on television, right? So like take Flavor Flav, for example. He got on TV out there. Look, you might think that there's 8 women in the world that want to holler at Flavor Flav. But guess what? All 8 of them have now seen Flavor Flav on TV. And if Flavor Flav show up in their city, there's a good chance they might show up to kick it with Flavor Flav. So maybe it is entirely possible that these are people who would not rock with me if I did not have the job that I have. But dude, I'm in sports also, right? Yeah. Like,
I mean, but sports is real sexy. I mean,
sports is real sexy to dudes,
right?
Like
so many women are into sports.
Yeah, there are. But I'm just telling you, like the groupies I got is primarily a bunch of dudes. Yeah. Like the women that
same here, same with the Combat Jack show.
Yeah, it's the same thing. But like the women,
we do the Combat Jack show live, and no shots to anybody, but it's
a lot of dudes. There's a lot of dudes.
Yo, right? What's up, Combat?
Yeah. So, but if I come across like a woman who knows me from my work, it's not necessarily going to be the sports stuff. It's just likely to be like some of those other things. But no, dudes, man. Like I just got back from the Black Journalist Convention. And yeah, man, it was just like if I have a crew of groupies, it's dudes, man. Which I mean, like that pays off if they're waiters and they give you dessert for free. Otherwise, not necessarily.
A lot of hot breaths in the club. Man.
Yeah, a lot of hot breath and wet dap. And neither one of those things is what's up.
Now, was this the same convention that Omarosa attended?
Yes, it was.
Were you there?
I was not there for that.
Yo, that shit was crazy, right?
Yeah, I wasn't there for it.
What the fuck were they thinking?
Well, so yeah, I wasn't there for it because as soon as I saw she was going to be there, I was just like, okay, I don't think I'm going to get anything out of this. I'm a little too tired.
You weren't at least interested in like how much of a car wreck is this going to be?
Kinda.
Right.
I kinda was. But also, so like Nicole Hannah-Jones in the New York Times Magazine was supposed to moderate the panel. She found out Omarosa was on it and she decided not to. Jelani Cobb decided not to. That's and I thought about the fact that they decided that they weren't going to do that. And I was like, okay, I don't really need to participate.
Or support this nonsense.
In this. Yeah. Like that's not, and I just totally was not interested. I did not think though that it was going to go off the rails in the way that it appears to have gone off the rails.
That shit was amazing.
I mean, they broke Ed Gordon, man.
Yeah.
And see, what Ed Gordon apparently didn't recognize, and I could be wrong in my view on this, but here's the thing, man. You can't get in there like scrapping it out in that way with somebody who's here for it.
Yes.
Right? Like, I get the feeling like Omarosa is like, I woke up this morning hoping.
Waiting.
That something like this would happen.
Pray a nigga would.
Yeah. And she is willing to go farther than you will.
Yes.
Right? So it's like, how do you fight somebody that's not afraid to get hit in the face? Right? She's not afraid to get hit in the face. You can't win with this one. And apparently he just got to a point where he just couldn't take it anymore. And then it all shut down from there. And I was like, oh, well.
I mean, the shit was cringeworthy. But shit was still crazy, man.
Yeah.
Shit was still amazing.
Yeah, that wasn't a good idea.
Yeah.
That's the safest way to put it. That wasn't a good idea.
Talking about scrapping, man, like, you're kind of like on Twitter, man, you're kind of like, I see kind of like this relation. It's like you're related to Talib Kweli, man.
No, there's a difference, though.
No. We'll get into that, but dude, you don't back down from any takers, it seems.
Yeah, well, see, here's the thing for me, right? Like, I mean, you talk about like being sharp. Like, I am quick with some of these things. It's light work.
And short.
Yeah, see, that's the big thing. It's just short. Yeah. Like, I don't have time to do this for very long. Like, I am often amazed at the things that people are willing to like trip over, and B, quite honestly, sometimes I am impressed with myself and the things that I might be able to come up with.
I will tell you are such an eloquent asshole on fucking Twitter. When you serve these motherfuckers, I'm like, yo, I just needed that.
Yeah, but the thing is, you know why I do this, and you know why because we've been cool since before all this stuff happened, right? So I was able to watch as I gradually became the dude on TV, right? Because before I had all the other stuff that I was doing, and if you knew about it, you were in on something small, and we kind of had a community and a crew that was built around it. So then once I started getting on TV, I noticed it was just fascinating how angry people were getting at things, like especially early before they knew anything about my personality.
Of course.
The things they were getting angry about that would have nothing to do with me or not at all be reflective.
Like what? Like what?
And on that is just like whatever they would assume my view to be on something, right? Like they're going to throw this, like I'm, especially then because I was younger, like the young black dude, right? So anything they're going to put on the young black dude, they're going in that direction. And so I know they're not mad at me. They are screaming at the idea of the person on television. right? Like that's what it is. Like there's an avatar.
The idea of you being the black dude.
The notion, yeah, right? Sometimes it's the black dude or whatever it happens to be, but they feel like the person on television is not actually a person, right? Like they're just screaming at the image. And so it was wild to be like a decidedly real and regular person and see that these folks were just at home and this is what they did. And I became fascinated. And I also felt like, hey, sometimes y'all need to know, man, the bear bite back.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you know, the bear is not here for you to just like wail away at. Like it doesn't hurt my feelings, these things that people say, because they don't know me. But
and then at the end of the day, like, how can it hurt you? You said you don't know them. They don't know you.
No.
Half the time, these motherfuckers are silly. I love when you make your point and you correct their spelling and their grammar.
You know, I'm only doing that if you call me stupid, right? Because we all make mistakes, but you're not going to call me stupid and you don't know the difference between your and your. There. Yeah, you're not going to do that in the course of calling me stupid. Like that's the line. I would let you slide for it if you're just not out here trying to call me stupid. Like you can't have both when you want to play that. So yeah, I just like it's somewhat entertaining for me. I think other people often find it to be entertaining. It's too much for some people. I don't blame them. But I also, like early, I don't care as much about this now as I did before, but I was sharing that because like if you were part of like the tight community of people that I had around me at the time, these are jokes for us.
Yes.
Like, can you believe that these jokers have come from the outside and this
into
is what
our
they're
community,
saying?
our little blogosphere community.
And now we about to clown them. Why? Because you mad. Why are you mad? Because I am not mad. They stay mad, and that's the best part.
Now, does it wear on you sometimes, or is it just like sport to you, man?
Yeah, like the times I don't feel like it, I just don't feel like it.
Right.
You know, like if I only do it if it's sport, really. Like there's sometimes I may be a little frustrated because you know the world or whatever's going on in it, but by and large, it's really just sport.
Yo, you know what's so telling, man? It's like, you know, here you are. You know, you're this famous dude in the sports world, right? And I would imagine, I would say that the idea is that most of us tune into sports because we want to escape from the realities of the real world. But then I'm just so amazed at this intersectionality of sports and race and how it always comes up, man. Can we talk about that?
Yeah, it's unavoidable.
Like how it seems like sports brings out the best of the racists, man. Am I right?
Well, I feel like sports, here's the thing about sports for the racists, right? The assumption by and large is that black people are naturally better athletes than white people. White
people are naturally more intelligent.
Yeah, right. Like that's the story, right?
Yeah.
So for you, the racist sports fan, you are going to wind up in a bit of a conundrum because at some point you are going to invest your emotions like in this black person when investing emotions in black person is the antithesis of your existence, right? It's also then going to bring out, if you don't like somebody, the hatred on that end. Now, part of what was wild is like there's all kinds of reasons not to like people. And what I do think that people are often bad at is identifying why it is that they don't like people, right? So like
they have no fucking clue.
Yeah. So there's like plenty of people who don't like me for whatever reason. That's cool. They don't all dislike me because I'm black, right? I don't have any idea what the percentage is, but if you are a racist and you happen to dislike me, your explanation for disliking me is probably going to go to a place of race. Like that's going to be the first place that you wind up going. That's the same thing that happens in sports, really, right? Like there's dudes you get to not like. It's just once you hear them talk about it, man, they don't know what to do. But then they also wind up in the conflict because there's a legitimate admiration for the fact that these cats not only can do something that you can't do, but it's something that you wish you could do, even if you have convinced yourself that you were never supposed to be capable of it in the first place. So you imagine if you got all that stuff swirling inside of you, how it all comes out when these real world topics come. Because look, man, we ain't got no choice. Like
we have no choice.
Yeah, this is what I mean. So like, there will be days like Shannon Penn produces my radio show, and Shannon will hit me. It's like, yo, we want to talk about Kaepernick today? No, like I just don't feel like it. Isn't necessarily fun, right? Like I'd much rather get out here and get on these jokes.
Does it wear down on you?
It can, right? Like it's it can wear down because if you've been talking about the same thing over and over again. B, it gets frustrating when you hear people make the same ridiculous, stupid points, logic that we've been cutting down for a year now. Like that gets old. And 3, I'm in this for the jokes by and large. Like I'm looking for the jokes wherever I can find the jokes because that is what is more fun. These topics can be exhausting, but if the answer to the question is the answer to the question, and I can't mislead whoever it is that I'm talking to. Like I feel like what I've got is based on the fact that people believe, if nothing else, that I mean what I say, and so I have to say what I mean. Now, there's some things I mean that I ain't gonna say because then I won't be saying anything anymore, at least not in a public place. Like we ain't gonna be stupid about it.
Of course.
But, if this is what it is, then we just have to identify it as being what it is at a particular point in time. I try not to do a lot of what ifs. I try not to get too much on with the presidential politics, if Obama did that, ... I try not to play that game too much because there's no point so much.
Yeah, it's useless.
Yeah. And I get why people do it, but I don't really try to
imagine if this, we know what it would be.
Right. We know that, right? I try not to traffic too much in that space when it comes down to it. But the real is, man, if the answer to the question involves race, then we're not going to avoid it. And I'm not, you listener, I'm probably not talking about you unless you own the team, right? Or whatever it happens to be in that story. I'm probably not talking about you.
Let me ask you though, man, has there ever been a time when, you've dealt with some of these people who have these ass backward notions about race and black people or people with different lifestyles and whole nine? Has there ever been a point where you've actually reasoned with them and they were like, oh shit, I see your point?
Yeah, it happens more than you would think.
Really?
Right. A lot of people will go out of their way. Like the inbox on the Facebook fan page is not rare to get somebody who was like, look, I had this thing that was going on. I really after a couple things or a couple, some examples that they had, and they really were like, yo, I did not think that you were right about this thing here or generally at first. No, it happens a lot more than people think. Now, here's the thing, though. I'm not really that worried about the people way off on the deep end on the crazy part. Chances are we're not going to get that.
You can't rationalize.
No, but there's a lot of people in the moderate space who are in denial of certain things, or at least I would consider them to be in denial on certain things. And those are the ones who very often come and were like I had a very good friend of mine today. He hit me up and his white dude, we are very close. We disagree. He's to the left a bit, but we have disagreements within, things on the left, stuff like that. And after Charlottesville, he hit me and he was just like, so I just wanted to apologize. I was like, what you apologize for? He's just like, you had told me for a long time that you felt that there was just a level of racism that was kind of baked into America, yes, right? That was in there. And I just always thought that you were being too cynical. I thought you were being dramatic. And now I realize that I was wrong. Those things happen. You never know what the moment is that somebody might begin to see things a little bit differently. But this is not really banging my head against the wall. Right. Now, part of why I retweet a lot of those crazy people and the things that people say is there's a whole lot of people who silently agree with the dumbest among us, right? They're sophisticated enough to know that they probably shouldn't put their names on some of these things these dumb people say.
Which is why they never have their names or their address or some,
and that's why, some
flag or some chicken or just an egg.
But those people sophisticated enough not to say anything never get checked and never have any reason to reconsider these things because since they're not saying it, nobody's saying anything to them. But if a person with 25 followers who says something that I know is not really that rare or unpopular in the space, I can take that cat, I can put him out here, I can say what I say about him, and you over there who agrees, you see it. Mm-hmm. You know it. Mm-hmm. You can have the shame to yourself, but you know that this is it. But no, I think that there are a lot of people who legitimately respect the fact that I think about these things and ponder them, and they do legitimately and truly listen to them.
You're better well versed than they are. I mean,
yeah. Not everybody's happy about that,
right.
But I do think there are a lot of people I think that people can tell. People can tell if you're really thinking about the stuff that you're saying. If you're just popping off, right? Just pop some shit just for people to hear it. They can see through that. They know what that is. I think that people can tell that I'm really giving you what I think, and I've spent a lot of time trying to consider these things.
Of course.
And I do think that the audience is generally smarter than people give it credit for, and I think they have respect for people who put that time in.
That's crazy, man. How do you feel though, man? You just touched upon it. I've been doing this show for 7 years, and I've always been talking about, what it really is to be black in America for 7 years. And I've had people attack me about talking about the concept of white privilege and the whole nine. How's it feel especially after the events in Charlottesville, and especially how this president is just doubling down on his, fascist, Nazi, KKK rhetoric? How's it feel that people are now saying, oh my God, I see what's going on, like the person you were talking about. How's it feel after you've been talking to these people for such a long time? Do you take it personally? Because I'm like, no, black people have been telling you all this shit. since we fucking landed here.
Yeah, I guess I've made a certain level of peace with the fact, like what you talk about, the people have been telling it and nobody had been listening. Like, I guess, I don't know if my expectations just aren't that high of people and what they were going to do. What I do think is interesting, though, because I do understand how Charlottesville is the line for people in a way that I think is reasonable in spite of the frustrations that we may have of trying to say these things and people not listening. I feel like for people, they looked up and they were just like, okay, I thought we could all agree on the Nazis.
Right.
You see what I mean? Like, so you
we might not agree on alt-right or KKK.
Right. We're not talking about
Nazis.
Yeah. We're not talking about affirmative action. Right. You understand what I'm saying?
Right.
We're not talking about rent control.
We're not talking about Black Lives Matter.
We're not talking about the police. We are talking about the
Nazis. That's like,
I thought we all could agree on that. So for those people that look up and see, actually, no, there are large numbers of people that are looking at the Nazis and are like, I mean, I don't really see what the problem is. Right. That is what I think shook people. They were like, wait a minute, we can't even get on board behind the Nazis?
Why the fuck weren't we brilliant enough in the 60s to name the KKK Nazis? Like, why weren't we brilliant enough to do that shit?
That is a fair question,
like,
right?
We wasted a lot of time trying to get these people to see what the fucking deal was.
Well, think about it's interesting that you mentioned that because as it became a discussion of like Nazis, right? The Associated Press this week said in their style guide that the alt-right is no longer an acceptable term because all alt-right was doing was dulling the edge off of what was effectively racism, right? They said you had to put it in quotation marks and all this stuff, right? And that seemed, you just think about this as an idea that as all these things have happened and come around, like all of a sudden at that moment they realize like, alt-right. We probably shouldn't just ride along with the name that they decide to call themselves, right? Okay, now we're not going to do that anymore. Like, there's all these little awakenings that seem to be happening. Now, I don't know how far those awakenings actually go.
Right.
But we seem to be at a watershed moment in American history.
Baltimore, shout out to Baltimore, man, for quietly.
In the middle of the night. They
were like, fuck this bullshit.
Well, also, I wonder, like, how many of these places like Baltimore, if they're looking up and they're just like, yo, man, we can't afford to be on TV again. You know what I mean? Like you thinking about that. If you're the mayor of Baltimore and all this stuff that's going on.
DOJ,
because they coming for these.
Yeah.
Like, that's the other thing, too. They looking around and they're like, hey, man, okay. So in Durham, they went and yanked the damn thing out the ground. I lived in Durham for 10 years, right? Mm-hmm. They yanked the damn thing out the ground in Durham, right? So they got, put out the warrants to go get all the people who did it. They got a lot of folk down the street in Durham to turn themselves in for taking that statue down. Like, that's how real that it's gotten in Durham over this issue. Baltimore's got to be. No. Like, for all I know, they got the things in a storage locker, ready to bring them back on another day. Right? Like, I don't know if this is permanent or not. I have no idea. I just know that as of this moment, Baltimore was like, we are not about to be next. No, and that's why I think all these rallies in these different places. Let's see what happens. Right?
Yeah. How amazing is this fucking president, man? Like, how amazing is he that he's doing the work for us? I mean, isn't that amazing? Like, this dude managed to keep his promise of uniting Americans together against his dumb ass.
The part that I always found interesting about Trump is that he's beholden to no one, right? Like, that's what made him fascinating.
You think so? He's like this?
Well,
he's
really
a loose cannon.
Like within the political structure, right? Like, I think there are fair questions about if he's beholden to other people,
and that's what got him in the office.
Right. That was exactly it. But that was also why he could go into these debates and be like, Bobby Jindal is polling at 2%. I don't even know why he's here. Right? That's why he could talk like he could talk to Jeb Bush the way he did. And I'm not gonna lie, I found that to be hilarious. Yeah. Like, the debates were amazing. He was just showing up. It was almost like when Cam and Dame went on the O'Reilly Factor.
Yes. Yo, you mad, doggy?
He's playing with a completely different set of rules.
Yeah.
So, like, O'Reilly,
no rules.
Yeah, right. O'Reilly has all this stuff written down. These cats are like, Harlem?
Off the rails.
Right, okay, let's do this Harlem shit, right? So we're going to go in here and we're going to do it like they completely change, like,
the language
analogy of the discussion.
That's an amazing analogy.
Yeah, that's a textbook study in how to handle an away game. Because what they went in and did is, normally when people play away games, they flip up into the language and the lexicon of the home team. Mm-hmm. Incorrect. Right. They came out here like we running a box and one, right? Mm-hmm. We are running this how we do it. Yeah. And that's what Trump did. Like, Trump stood up at those debates and was just like, yo, I'm going to sun these cats. I don't really have anything to say. I don't really have any points, but I'm going to sun these cats until there are none left. And he sunned them all. And I was like, yo, we got some other questions to have here. Right. But yeah, there's something to be said for that. Then this started, and I think everybody looked around and was like, wait a minute, what now? Like what exactly is supposed to happen right now? So the part that I've said for the longest that people miss is all these people around Trump have viewed Trump as somebody who could be a vehicle toward what it is that they want or
somebody
what they want to do. Right. So like Jeff Sessions has a set of ideas of what he wants. Steve Bannon, who explicitly said that Trump was, quote, a blunt instrument that could be used to do the things he wanted, like he was a vessel. So like everybody saw Trump as being a guy that could get them to where they were going, except the problem is...
You can't touch that man's ego.
Well, you can't do that, and also... There's no telling what he's going to do on a day-to-day. It's like a pack of teenagers walking through the mall, right? Like I got no telling what they're going to do next. And so here, every day, we're just like...
What the fuck is this motherfucker? Yeah.
So what now? Like what is it going to be, the next day? What is it going to be next that just comes up for everybody? And it's just like, I don't have an answer. Dude, it's 2017. And we talking about the Russians and a war in Korea.
We got nukes on our shoulders. We got nukes on our shoulders, B.
In 2017, right?
And Nazis.
We have Nazis.
We got Nazis.
We have Nazis. So it's interesting because like my bosses are very concerned about like what you say about just politics generally, but Trump in particular. Like,
is that it? We have to be nonpartisan.
The way I would bring this up is like they call it the day after the election, and they were just like, you just want to make sure you don't have anything to say derogatory, about the president.
How'd you feel that day? Did you have a sense?
I did not think it was going to happen. Right. I fell asleep at like 9:00 that night for some
reason. I think
most
of us fell asleep.
And I woke up at 11:30, and I was like, "Hey, what do you mean it's a 3-point game?" Right? Like that's what it's like. You know what I mean? It's like the first round of the tournament, and you go do something in like the 2:15 game, and you come back, you'd be like, "What? It's tied?" I don't understand what you mean. Like the game is tied. And so the next day, I did not think that it would happen. So it was just kind of like, oh. So that happened. Like I didn't really have a great handle on what it was.
Fuck? This is our new reality.
Yeah. But I didn't know what the new reality meant, and I still don't think we actually know what it means. Right? Like it's still evolving. But they called and they were just like, we prefer you not say anything derogatory about the president. And I get where they're coming from. Like I don't ever have a problem with that. The only place where I would have a problem is if we are not going to be able to discuss something that is like 100% absolutely true. Right? That is just purely a statement of fact. Like we cannot deny the existence of fact. And so, like, when we talk about Trump here in this discussion, I'm not talking about anything that is up for interpretation, right? I feel like no matter what, though, given where we are, that you don't even really have to say anything in particular or with a slant about anybody in this. I feel like you can lay out the facts and then you can walk away. Like that's just kind of where we are, is that you can just lay out what is going on and you don't have to editorialize very much about it. It's just what it is.
You talked about it before and you said you don't really like to talk about it all the time, but particularly in sports, particularly what's going on with Kaepernick. Mm-hmm. You think these recent turn of events, man, you think the way the NFL is viewing this guy, you think that's going to change?
No, I think his career is probably over.
Really?
I get the feeling, and I have talked to him a few times.
What kind of cat is he, man, in person?
I haven't in person. I've talked to him on the phone. I haven't done it in person.
Right.
He's a thoughtful dude, man. I mean,
and it's shown.
Yeah,
his actions have shown that he's very thoughtful.
Yeah, I talked to him right at the beginning of this.
Right.
And I've heard people say that they felt like he knew, what he was stepping into and what everything was going to be. I didn't get that feeling the first time I talked to him. I talked to him very early in the process, and I got the feeling that it's just like, okay, like this is gone to a place that I did not expect it necessarily to go.
Right.
I would never have expected 1 year ago that he would have done all the things that he has done and has been as prepared when called to speak as he has been about these things. There's no way I would have thought that would have been the case last August.
Right.
None. But no, I think the time is up. See, one thing I think people need to remember about him that's different than all these other cats who are going to do whatever it is.
That's now standing up.
Yeah. Here's the thing. All those other cats were given permission. Right? So after the Kaepernick thing happened, all these teams sent it out that we're not going to do anything because they didn't have any rule in place that said they did. So the NBA, for example, has a rule that says that you must stand for the national anthem.
Right.
The NFL does not. The NFL does not have that in place. And so I think
that's not a rule.
Right, it's not a rule. So I think they all realized that, and then everybody said, hey, we're not going to stop you from doing this. We're not going to stop you from doing that, whatever it is, right? But Kaepernick did not wait for any memo. He just did it. right? And that seems to be the biggest difference, is that he did not ask for permission where these other cats were given a green light of sorts to go ahead and do it. Like, they're going to deal with some hell with it, but in the end, they didn't say, I'll just take what happens. It's just not how it went. Kaepernick being that one, if he ain't in now, I don't see what's going to change that's going to make somebody give him a job.
So basically, they're out to make an example of him. Or it's just they're too far deep they got to double down.
Well, I also don't know necessarily. So the thing about like the notion of collusion is you don't have to have everybody get together and say that it's going to be that, right? Like, I'm sure that there are a bunch of people who have made individual decisions that are like strictly football related. So, like, case in point, the Giants are bringing Kaepernick in, right? Like, Eli Manning apparently gets to have that job until he dies, right? They're not going to bring him in. Like, the Steelers are probably not going to be the ones to bring him in. And if you're Kaepernick, it's probably not a place you want to go because you're not going to get any burn anyway, right? So, I mean, there are teams that do not have a use for him necessarily that are not going to bring him in.
Right.
But there are enough teams that do have a use for him who have decided not to. Now, maybe some of those owners have made the call that that's not what they want to have behind them. I think that some of them probably made the call that they feel like their fans can't deal with it, or they don't want the fight that'll come with the police union when they threaten not to work security or stuff like that.
Right,
like I don't want to.
It is a lot of headaches.
Yeah, I don't want to pretend as though there are not like individual things that could come up before this whole league collectively reach a point where someone who is absolutely qualified to play the scarcest position in American sports can't find anybody to call, basically. And it's not even like, all these, we don't know how much money he wants, but these teams don't know how much money he wants either because they ain't calling.
Yeah.
Like, how is that?
That's a goddamn shame, man.
No, it is a travesty. And so
it's a tragedy.
Yeah, well, I'm at the point now where like fighting about him getting a job or arguing that point. Like, I feel like the horse done left the barn on that one. Like, I just don't think it's going to happen. I think that there's supposed to be a rally, outside the NFL offices or something like that. Like, I think that people are in a position where they can put pressure on the league and demonstrate that they are unhappy. They are customers also, and they are unhappy, and then see what happens there. But, I mean, we are in a full-on martyr situation, I believe, where his career is going to go down for the fact that, I mean, let's think about this for a second. If his career ends on this one, but these other cats do, even if they were given permission, these other cats do get out here and do the exact same thing, and they're pushing the point. You can never argue with the effectiveness of what he's done.
Mm-hmm. He set it in motion. He set it in motion.
You never can. And I don't think that he knew that when he started doing this, that this would be the end result. Like, we are going to remember this 25, 30 years from now as a historical moment in not just sports history, but also American history, because this is going to be a flashpoint in everything we have here. Like, that happened in 2016, the year of that election. 2017, like, I think those two are going to be kind of put together in history, and he and that afro and everything
it's
with
separate.
it
it's all together.
They are going to be a flashpoint.
Yeah.
That's going to be something that kids are going to be talking about, or we're going to talk to our kids about what happened here.
Right. Do we as black people, man, I hear all this talk, man, about boycotting the NFL, man. Can niggas really boycott the NFL, man?
Let me tell you, man.
Is that really going to happen?
I've heard more people that's down to do it.
Right.
I mean, we'll see how it actually goes, right? Like, how many people.
I mean, that's such a part of our lives, a lot of us.
Yeah, you know what, though? It's a part of our lives, but football season ends every year,
and
we find other stuff to do.
Yeah.
But
when football season is here, it is. It's fucking a reflex.
Yeah, the difference that football has over the other major American sports really is the fact that the games are played on weekends and only played once a week. So there's so much ritual that surrounds them, and it does become like a part of your life. This is what we do. This is how we do it.
Quote unquote heritage. You know what I'm saying?
Exactly.
My grandfather, my father, me. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, like
it's my team.
Yeah, it does.
Cowboys.
It does carry in that way where it would be a hole in a lot of people's lives if they decided that they weren't going to do this, man. But I do think for a lot of people, lines are getting drawn here, and I'll be curious to see like how this goes, how it evolves, how it'll go with different teams, and there's different like what's next. Because I think the part that gets lost in this is like I remember when the dudes wore I Can't Breathe T-shirts in Brooklyn that time, and I was like, look, man, everybody needs to figure out what they're going to do because this is the beginning. Right? Like, this is going to keep going. So with that, I didn't predict it quite accurately, but I was like, some other police department is going to kill somebody, and then this is going to come up again. Like, all these leagues, that they're trying to figure out what to do about expression, they need a long-run plan, because this is not a one-off. This ain't ad hoc. This ain't just something that people are going to do today, and then it's going to be forgotten about. No. These are all building actions, and now these are the times that we're in. All these people are really going to have to figure out what they are going to do. Like, I think in life there's a kind of what side you on thing that people are talking about, but just in terms of sports, you got to figure out what this is, because if you try to buck back at a lot of these dudes as they try to express themselves, you're going to have a bigger problem than you started with, because people are at their wits' end at this point with this. And they can't avoid it as much as they want to avoid it in their sports, man. We're past that point. So, like, 9/11 happened. Nobody's saying stick to sports after 9/11, right? 9/11 was too big for you to think that it wasn't going to come into sports, right? In fact, we invited it into sports because we saw sports as being this healing sort of thing. But there was no stick to sports sort of thing. Even if you tried to say stick to sports, again, it was too big for you to ignore it. What we've got going on right now is getting too big to ignore it, even in the landscape of professional sports.
Growing up in the South, man, did you ever think you see shit going on at such a, to this scope or this level?
Nah,
I mean, did you think, damn, shit is still fucked up, but we're kind of past that shit?
Yeah, because I grew up in the 90s, man.
Right.
Like, I think people of my age who came of age in the 90s, so the 90s, we're looking really like 20, 25 years removed from the civil rights movement, right? Before 9/11, which is a bit of a turning point in a lot of these.
Definitely set a lot of things in motion.
In a lot of these attitudes. So that was almost kind of like a golden era for optimism to a degree. Like, you think about this, Bill Clinton on Arsenio Hall playing the saxophone.
Right. It was after the crack epidemic.
Yeah, it was after that, right? And the economy was booming. And, I mean, white folks and black folks get along a lot better when the economy's good.
We were black people were inching into that middle class.
Right. All those things were going on. The real estate market was taking off. And so I absolutely thought that things weren't so bad. Like, I mean, I went to school in a town called Waller, Texas, 1,500 people, right? Mm-hmm. In Waller County, Texas, where Sandra Bland got pulled over. I don't have a real experience to share of just feeling overwhelmed by the racism. Right. It didn't feel that way. And there were moments, don't get me wrong. It ain't like it didn't involve, it never came up. But I didn't feel like I grew up in a time. I grew up we lived in Houston, right? Houston is Houston. But I felt like, everything was like kind of rolling smooth. Now, I would also make the argument that I didn't quite do all the math on the next door neighbor having a Confederate flag bumper sticker on his car.
Which you saw.
But the dude was always very nice to me,
yes.
Right? Like there's some of those things that, that come up. But no, I did not think that it would be this. I don't think I reached a certain level of disillusionment where I was just like, oh, okay, this is worse than I thought it was. That was Katrina. Katrina was that moment for me where I was like, oh, it's like that. Whew. Didn't see that coming. Charlottesville's going to be that for a lot of people, too. It's going to be the moment. Once again, people got to see both sides on the Nazis.
They killed a white girl. They killed a white girl.
That is a part of this that I've been wondering.
They killed a white woman.
I have wondered if it were a different victim, how America would respond.
And not taking anything away from the severity of the loss of her life.
Oh, yeah. No. But the way it's received,
they killed a white woman.
Well, and then her parents have handled this as amazingly as anybody could expect.
So graceful. Also,
though, while couched in religion. Right, like it's been very much about their faith in Jesus Christ in dealing with this, and and the notions of forgiveness and everything else. Like in terms of having someone that you could rally around and the people around them that you could rally around. Like, this is it. And look, man, she was out there fighting this. That's like them cats are out there with their riot gear that they brought from home. And that woman and all those other people was actually standing there. So, no, let's be very clear about this. Ain't nobody taking anything away from her because she sure did a hell of a lot more than I did that afternoon, right? Like, there's no taking away from her.
Right.
But I do wonder, how do we do this if it is a different victim? I have wondered that. But again, as we talked about before on that imagine if it was Obama thing, ain't really that much of a point on that. But, but you can acknowledge that if they were going to try to smooth this over with America, they needed to hit somebody else.
That's a turning point, man. Yeah. That's definitely a turning point, man. Yeah, how's life after Highly Questionable?
It's a little odd. Like, I'm not used to having this free time in the morning, for one. Like, my whole schedule is thrown off. Like, I did the show for 4 years, and everything was... You
guys did a great job.
I appreciate that, man.
Amazing job.
I sat in for a few days this week, on the show. And it was kind of odd because Dan and Poppy weren't there. It was me, Pablo, and then Greg Cody. But yeah, no, it's I really enjoyed doing that show. It was a learning process and evolution in the 4 years of working with Dan.
What'd you learn, man?
One thing that I learned is that there's something to be said for being able to laugh and relax more on television. So what I did in large part for those 4 years, Dan told me when we first started doing the show, he was just like, look, if you let me, I can help soften you on television. And some of the things that can make it kind of hard for people to get into what you're doing, I can help make you better at doing those things.
Things like what?
Well, I done Around the Horn. That's the big thing that people knew me for was Around the Horn. And Around the Horn is a bit competitive, right? It's not a warm and fuzzy sort of show. You get to show some measure of personality, but not really. I got to Highly Questionable allowed me to kind of share a little more with the audience.
Right. So you weren't as guarded. You were not guarded.
I don't even know if guarded is the right word. Because, you can say I wasn't as guarded, but also, we're not trying to get to the finish line on a point, right? There's no point system or anything like that. Now I'm with these guys and I'm with them every day because I've never been on TV with people every day. And I really hadn't had, working 4 years with somebody, I'd never had a job longer than a year and a half.
That's your longest job,
before,
right?
Yeah, a year and a half is the longest I'd ever had a job before Highly Questionable. So, I had to learn what it is to have a job where you work with somebody every single day. I'd never had that before. And, the ups and downs of the rhythm that go from there, and then you find the lane, that everybody can kind of work with. That was what I had to learn because I'd never had that.
Yo, what kind of cat is Poppy, man? This dude is amazing. Is he really that guy?
He is a great dude. Here's what he is if you get him rolling on something,
right,
then you've got him, right? Like days I just walk in there and next thing I know I hear all this cussing and everything else and normally about Dwayne Wade. You just walk in, whoever gets him on whatever role, you get him on. But the thing is about just the Levitards, right? Because they, Miami, they mean something. That's a family unit. And they are the kindest, most generous people that you could possibly imagine, right? I don't know how well I would have done there if I were working with people other than Dan, who is so sharing and giving.
Right.
Of that. His mom was my realtor when I found
That's crazy,
my
man.
first place.
So in a sense, they open up their family to you.
Yeah, well, and to be clear, they open up their family to a lot of people.
Right.
That's just kind of how they are and how they operate. They are great. I have all kinds of wonderful things to say about them and making my life a whole lot easier while I was there.
So how'd you find out you were no longer on the show?
I had a meeting with an executive at ESPN, and they proposed the idea of my contract was coming up, and they proposed the idea of a show that was more built around me.
Which is a good thing, right?
Yes. Well,
it's a great thing.
Well, I was also asking for it.
Right. Okay.
To be clear.
Okay.
It was something that was what I wanted to do.
You wanted to level up in a sense.
Yeah. Yeah. I don't. It's not even so much the level part as I was about ready to do something else.
Right. Did you get tired?
Yeah, well, we do the same thing every day.
Right.
And again, I hadn't had a job longer than a year and a half before, right? So we kind of do the same thing every day. And also, as much as I enjoyed being on the show and I was kind of, certainly appreciative of the opportunity to be on the show, that wasn't my show.
Right.
Right? That's Dan's show. And I signed up to be on Dan's show. I was always comfortable with the idea that it was Dan's show. The people that I work with always appreciated the contributions that I made to the show, and it was not as though I was a lesser piece on the show, but that's not my father.
Right.
That's not my city.
Right.
That's a show
but the dynamic, though.
Yeah, that's a show.
The dynamic was crazy.
Yeah, it worked once I got there, but that was a show that existed already, and then we just pulled up another chair.
Right.
And so there's a limitation on how much I could do within that or where it was going to go for me. And so for me, it was just about time it was time for me, I felt like, to do something else.
When you got on that show, were there some people that are like, what the fuck is this guy doing here?
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. No matter what. Let me tell you, man, you ever work with a website when they do a redesign? Mm-hmm. You'll see the angriest emails in the world over a website redesign. Right. Anything that changes people are going to have a problem with. And they trying to figure out what I'm doing. Oh, we had this family show before, and now, the family part is what I liked. And, of course, because that's what they were accustomed to. And all you can do is get on there for a few months, give people a chance to decide whether they rock with it or not, and then go from that. But, I've been doing this long enough. Anything changes, anybody new comes on. Like my radio show, if I'm out for a few days and somebody else comes on, it's always going to be the people like, oh, man, get this guy out of here, And of course, there's going to be a couple people that's like, yo, I hope Bomani never comes back.
Right, of course.
Like, but that was what it was going to be.
But talk about the pressure, because this is national TV now.
Mm-hmm.
It's national TV, and you have this obstacle to you have to prove yourself on this scale. Like talk about that, man. And
I feel no pressure about being on
really,
television.
how the fuck not?
I felt pressure like the first time I did TV.
Right.
Like 10, 11 years ago, I kind of felt some pressure, and I looked back on it, and I was really nervous and all of that. But somewhere along the way, I figured out it's just talking.
Mm-hmm.
Right? So
which you're good at.
Yeah, but I say that's worse. I do things worse than I do with talking. So the first time I did Around the Horn, I always tell the story that a buddy of mine came and picked me up because my car was broken down. And so he came and picked me up, and I was there, and I thought to myself, I got two choices, man. I can either approach this like, man, I hope they call me back, or I can approach this like they're never going to call me back, and so I might as well have a ball. Right. I went with number 2, and they did call me back, and then I just kept riding it out from there, So, being on television is like the new show.
Yeah, tell us about the new show.
I actually don't have that much to tell. We don't have a name. We don't have a format. I just know it's going to be me and Pablo, and it will start January 2nd, 2018.
You guys have a relationship?
Yes. Okay. Yes, he is a good friend. This is, if you were to ask me what I wanted when it was time, what would be next, I would have told you I wanted to do a show that was more built around me, and I would have told you that I wanted to do that show with Pablo. And I've got that. Right, those are the things that I have that I can share. That I've absolutely got that, and so I love the dude. Right, I think he's really good at this. I think he's going to get better at this in the course of doing this. I think I'll be able to be helpful to him in the ways that Dan was helpful to me when I first started in doing that show. I think it'll be it. But the pressure of the show, I don't feel that.
That's amazing, man.
Well, one, the contract's guaranteed.
Yeah.
Right.
So at least that helps.
Yeah, there's that. But the other part too, I've said this before, where it's my job to do the best I can. It's your job to make a good show, right? Somebody was.
You know what? That's smart, man. Because a lot of us go into these situations carrying the entire weight and not knowing our place or our role. So therefore, if the ship starts sinking, we start carrying that fucking weight on us.
Yeah,
right?
I feel that. But look, man, they gave somebody a job, and his job was, hey, figure out what TV show to put in here, right? And they decided whatever the TV show was going to be. And then they called me, and they're like, hey, how would you like to be on this TV show? Cool. And I'm going to get on that TV show, and I am going to do the best that I can. And I am going to trust that you knew how to do your job. And in knowing how to do your job, you said, I think you can do a TV show. All that matters is if you think I can do a TV show, right? Okay, cool. So now I'm going to go do a TV show. Now, the TV show that I do, if it's not working, then we're going to figure out how to make it work, right? But it was your job to find somebody to make this TV show work. Mm-hmm. Maybe you should have found somebody else. All right? But I mean, you got me now.
I didn't knock on the door.
Yeah. You got me now. So this is the TV show that we are going to do. Some days it's going to be good. Some days it's not going to be good. This is just, and one day they're going to call me and they're probably going to say, hey man, we've had enough, right? I don't know when that day is. I don't have an answer for you, but at some point it's probably going to be over. I'm going to do the best. All I can do is the best I can, man. I've been, flunked out of graduate school. I've been fired from enough jobs.
And isn't that a good thing?
Yeah.
When you failed enough.
Yeah, well, the big one was
to know that I don't give a fucking.
Well, the one that fell out of graduate school is the one that did it for me because that was if that was the thing I was supposed to be able to do. If you'd have asked somebody,
you come from a family of intellectuals.
Yeah. If you asked somebody 15 years ago, what was more likely, me being on television or me being a college professor? Me being a college professor was far more likely, and so that one, it never dawned on me once in the world that was a possible outcome.
Why'd you fail out, man?
I didn't pass the qualifying exams.
Did you give it your best or?
I would say that I gave it my best, but years of not working hard caught up to me in the end, where this was harder than anything I'd ever done, and I didn't know how to adjust to something being that difficult, right? I just didn't know how to do it. But that was the hard one because that was I was worried briefly about wow, people have always viewed me and my brain in a certain way, right? And so now, like, am I being exposed? Like, is it look like, does it look like I'm a fraud?
You know what? It's the scariest thing, right?
That's what I thought.
When people hold you to a certain level of intelligence or capability, and you start questioning that.
Yeah, and then it was really only for a couple of days. I talked to my parents, I talked to my brother, and they told me that they didn't look at me any differently than they did the day before, and that was it. So, like, if I could recover from that one, like, what you gonna tell me? Your national television show was a failure. My what? Like, you know how hard it is to get a TV show? Like, you know how many people, like, my buddy, James Davis did a show, Hooded Jason on Comedy Central. I know James since he was a freshman in college. Like, I call him my little brother. Right. And, like, that's my relationship with him. And, of course, when you start doing the show, he's got, normal anxieties about how it's going to go. And I remember I had to tell him something that my man Rodimus Prime, the black guy who tips, told me when we first got highly questionable. He was like, look, man. I listen to these comedy podcasts and all this stuff. And he's like, you got to realize getting the show is a victory.
Yes.
Like getting that far. You know how many people will, like, so let's think about ESPN, for example, right? How many television shows are there on ESPN show on weekdays? Like, you can count the number there are and how many people are on them. There's a lot of people that want to be able to do that. Yeah. I got a chance to do it. It might not work, right? And if it doesn't
but I got
work,
the game.
Yeah, but I'm in the game, and it's so hard to get into the game. So no, I don't worry in that way. I also think, when anybody thinks about it, I think I'm good at this, and I feel like with this television show, I feel like we're going to build it, we're going to, get it straight. But if all they do is throw me and Pablo out there with cameras and a microphone and say, get out here and talk about it, I feel like I'm going to give you something.
It's go time,
right? We can make it better, but there's going to be a certain number of people that I do think will watch this.
Yeah. Let's talk about this this Mayweather McGregor event. Like, man, what the fuck is that, man?
Oh, dude, it's a clown show. It's a clown show and it's easy money. That's all it is. And here's why it's easy money.
People in sports are people in sports really taking this thing serious?
No.
So it's a con job to us. Like we're gullible.
It's not even a con because I don't even think that the fans are taking it seriously.
Really?
It's a fight party. Think about that with the fight party, man. When the fights come around, everybody pretend like they know something about boxing, man. They ain't watching boxing. They ain't watching a boxing match in 10 fucking years, but they all pretend
just
like
at me, bro. Just
right,
at me.
Right, and it's cool. But here's the thing: we all like fight parties. Right. Like we enjoy boxing, and there are certainly some people who like follow it all the way. But McGregor Mayweather is going to be a fight party. Mm-hmm. There's going to be somewhere to go, and people are going to be there watching.
Some
and it's a social event. Right before the football season starts. It's a social event. Nobody thinks Conor has any chance of winning. So they do all this ridiculous stuff to get the attention around it. But when August 26th comes around, it will be the second most important thing going on in the world, the first being my birthday. They're ruining my birthday, by the way.
I'm sorry.
You know what I mean? Stop and think about this for a second.
Yeah.
If that is on your birthday, I got all these places that maybe I might want to go.
Yes.
What's going to be happening at those places? A cover charge, a monster-ass cover charge.
I can't even get a drink at my favorite bar.
Right. Because this clown show that isn't even going to take long.
Have a party at your place, man.
Yeah.
Why don't you do that, man? I'll bring a bottle.
Yeah, I thought about that.
Yeah, let's do that, man.
Here's
let me throw that shit up on Instagram, baby.
It's a small problem. I wouldn't have a problem with it except, here's the thing. I think it's a very bad idea to watch this fight in mixed company. And I would feel wrong not inviting my white friends to come over to the house, but I don't think it would be safe to invite my white friends to watch this fight.
What are your predictions? Like, what round? Is this going to go full?
I think that Floyd is coming out here with the intention of trying to knock him out in the first round.
Devil's advocate.
I think that's his plan.
If this dude loses.
If which dude loses?
If Mayweather loses this fight.
Yeah, don't say if this dude. Say if
Mayweather.
It's the biggest,
I don't want to put that on him. That's why I didn't,
It's the biggest upset in the history of professional sports.
White people gonna show their ass though on Twitter and social media.
Yeah, I mean, here's the thing about
all the weight of.
Here's the thing, depending upon how much
that's fucked up. That
I know, I know.
The weight of the race.
But depending upon how much people have been drinking, there's gonna be ass showing no matter what, which is why I don't think it's a good idea to watch this fight in mixed company. The last thing you need is that one friend who say something because he's been drinking and he didn't even know he had it in him, and now we got a problem. Remember, Jack Johnson fought Jim Jeffries in 1910. It was race riots. Like fights bring out the worst in people. And I will say, if Floyd is fighting for the dignity of the race, I sure wish we could have somebody fighting for the dignity of the race that I liked a little bit more. Like this is I guess he had the hero we want, right?
You're not a big fan of Floyd?
No.
Okay.
No.
Why not? The whole money team?
Well, the beating women thing is the money team thing I can kind of live with, right?
I mean, Ray J's on the team.
Was that?
Ray J's on the team, right?
Oh, I guess he is.
You know what I'm saying? Like any team with Ray J,
had it first.
Fun, man.
No,
I hit it first.
Hit it first.
I mean, but I think the money team thing was a brilliant caricature that he built. In 2008 is when he built this Money Mayweather persona. Everybody's losing their houses. Floyd's throwing money in your faces. Right? Like, I think in terms of just promotion, he figured out how to make himself a heel and a draw while not being a boxer that people find to be especially entertaining.
Right.
So I give him the credit for figuring that out. But the stuff with him and beating women and the way that he handles it after the fact, can't rock with it. Just can't do it.
What other events are you looking forward to, man? Sports events.
Let me see. Sports events that I'm looking forward to. I got to figure out how I feel about football season, man. Because it's here. Like
that's a big one.
Well, you know, though, but I'm not going to pretend like I don't make like principal compromises all the time in the name of sports. Like I still watch college sports despite all my issues that I have with not paying players, like Florida State, Alabama. Kind of looking forward to that. Think that'll be I think that one will be a winner. And I am, as always, ready for the NBA season.
Yes.
Hoodie Mello? Hoodie Mello?
Is that I want to know what's going to happen with Mello.
Is that an indication of, have you been watching?
Yeah, I've seen.
Is that an indication of his play this year?
I don't know because I have no idea where he's going to play. I have no clue.
He's going to be in New York.
I don't see a good reason for the Knicks to get rid of him, so I think he'll probably wind
and they
up
won't
in
get
New York.
what they want back for him, so
Right.
they're not going to take on Ryan Anderson, right?
But they got to get somebody for him because Melo's still the only reason to come watch that team play. Like
balling,
Porzingis is
man.
getting better, but he ain't the reason. Like I've gone from thinking Melo was overrated to thinking Melo is underrated without changing really how I felt about Melo. It's like what people have said around him has changed so much over the years. So I figure, if he winds up back in New York, I want anything that keeps the Knicks sorry, because when the Knicks are sorry, it's hilarious and it makes for great content.
Even though that now you're a New Yorker?
Oh, yeah. But
You're
actually, I either want the Knicks to be sorry or really good.
Right.
No in between.
Or maybe.
But they can't afford to be in between at this point.
I know.
Well, there's another space,
though,
where they're just good enough to get y'all's hopes up because nobody gets their hopes up quite like Knicks fans. Nobody falls harder.
Talk to this man right here.
Nobody falls harder.
This man right here is a hard.
I'm a Knicks fan, but I'm realistic.
Did you're not a Knicks fan?
Dude, you weren't realistic a couple of years ago.
I wasn't, but I'm realistic.
They beat that realism into your head, man.
Listen, I'm a weary Knicks fan, all right?
Hey, one thing, I don't think Knicks fans get enough credit for their loyalty and dedication to this team either. Like, if you value that.
All hardcore Knicks fans out there, y'all are some amazing people,
It's the 90s. It's the Ewing era.
Yeah.
It's all of that shit that went on, and Heartbreak, Reggie Miller.
Yeah.
Yeah, all of that.
Well, you got to once again remember, I'm from Houston. They ought to build a statue of John
Olajuwon.
Starks. Hey, I say John Starks, we didn't name a freeway after John Starks. In Houston, right? I say you can have 45. The Southwest Freeway is now the John Starks Freeway.
That's crazy, man. Yo, what do you listen to these days, man?
Man, I was actually thinking about that on the way over because I knew you was going to ask that. I've been so caught up. Like this year, I have not really gotten into that much new stuff. I am still, though. Anderson Paak's Malibu from last year.
Amazing.
It is. I don't understand why more people. I feel like I talk to people who know and they're on it, right? So it's not like it's some album that nobody's aware of. But I'm like, no.
You know
this
what
is the coldest thing I've heard in years.
You know what it is, man. People don't appreciate fine things, man.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? People don't appreciate fine things. That was an amazing album.
Incredible. And also a fascinating production list where you're looking at getting like Ninth Wonder and Mad Lib and all of this. The drum swing, music peaks.
Did you fuck with Kate Renata?
I did. And the only thing about the Kate Renata, that's the 99.9, right? Mm-hmm. You go to enough restaurants in Miami, and it's like, yo, this all sounds like Kate Renata beats, right? Like, it's kind of got that sound to it, but like, I did really like what it was that he was doing on that album.
444.
So, I ain't going through all the work it was going to take for me to listen to that yet. Like, I've listened to a few tracks, though. I think it's
Oh, you
good.
haven't listened to it yet?
Not all the way. I think it's, like, what I've heard, I think it's good.
It's a good, cohesive body of work.
And that's what I'm looking for.
Not the extra tracks.
But that's what I'm looking for from Jay-Z at this point. It's just, like, interesting albums. Like, the American Gangster album was the one where I was like, oh, okay, cool. So you figured out and found the lane where you're just going to do interesting albums, right? Like Watch the Throne, which I like, don't love, but it's a really interesting album, right?
It's a great concept.
Right, because what you need the money for. I mean, Watch the Throne is basically the middle finger to racist white America, track after track after track after track after track, wrapped up in all this money and everything else, but underneath it all, it is all like subversive against the notion of a white ruling class. Like every step of it. Really interesting sort of thing. So that's where I'm with Jay. It's just like, okay, cool. do these interesting things. I would have liked to you have done these interesting albums like between 97 and 2000, right? When he was running the game and, putting out albums with like flames and fillers and nothing in between, right?
Well, it was a different time.
It was.
It was
and
a different
he was
time.
trying to get that money.
Yeah,
No one has ever been more shameless about,
Wait,
I'm just
you
trying
said
to get that
between
money.
what years?
Like 97 and 2000. The In My Lifetime stretch. The volume 1 through 3.
I mean, but he had to go multi-plat though. He had to dumb it down.
So here's
and at that time, because there's nobody in this room bigger of a Jay-Z fan as me.
Facts.
Like
Facts.
Like that was
Right.
do-rag Jay-Z.
Yes.
So the albums he gave you weren't even touching the B-sides.
Yeah.
You can't fuck with fucking do-rag Jay.
Okay, but let's think about this though, right? So let's go through those 3 albums because I think you're right by and large. But the problems with Volume 1 were not. They were attempts at selling records that failed. Because the problem with Volume 1 is
the 2 or 3.
Yeah, the 3 or 4 tracks that are awful.
But it's still
everything
a
else is
fucking
flames.
classic
Everything
album.
else is flames.
Yes.
And then you got I Know What Girls Like, The City Is Mine.
Sunshine.
Sunshine.
City is Mine.
Stop.
It's not
stop,
that bad.
Stop.
City of Mine.
No,
I mean,
Lucky Me is the one I'll let you say
City
is not
of Mine,
that bad.
like he's talking to
City's-
Big, my dude. He's talking to Big.
Look. If you gonna talk to Big, say something better or say it over a better beat, whatever it is.
We could've had a primo beat or something.
Nah, man. That one was not. No, it was not the heat. Again,
I didn't say it was the heat.
yeah,
But
I
still tolerate it.
It's
I tolerated
now
it.
Sunshine. I'll never forget because that came out September '97.
Sunshine is the joint with Foxy?
Foxy, Hype Williams did the video. They were wearing colored.
Somebody just posited on Twitter. Had they not done a video
For Sunshine?
for Sunshine
What?
Oh, the song stinks.
with that record?
No. The song stinks.
Nah.
The song stinks. Let me tell you about the video, though. I'll never forget. It was my freshman year of college. It was right at the beginning of the year, and we were in the lounge. It was always on Rap City, right? And the Sunshine video came on, and a couple of these annoying New Yorkers, like we had just talked about, were in there. And that Sunshine video came on, and I just remember turning and looking at them. And I'm watching as they are trying to find the silver lining in this, right?
There's no silver lining in the video.
They're trying to find a way to say that this is there. Like, it was Sunshine B. And they were so done. They were so heartbroken.
Are you laughing too hard right now?
Because he let them down.
You're laughing too hard.
Oh, man.
You're laughing
They
too hard.
needed it so bad. Big had just died.
Sir, let me
They
remind
needed
you,
it so bad.
You are a New Yorker now, sir.
Dude, they needed
You are
it
a
so
New
bad.
Yorker.
They were so heartbroken.
And that was peak Hype Williams era.
Yes, they needed it so
that
bad.
video was like the Busta Rhymes or the Missy Elliott video, colorful.
Everything. They got the worst of everything. So then Volume 2 comes, and Volume 2 is
Hard.
flat out shameless. I'm just trying to get this money.
I'm trying to sum what it makes.
Except with the super grimy first single that kind of charted this course. And so that one, like, it's got jams, right? But it's also got a bunch of stuff that didn't really hold up, and I ain't like that much at the time. Volume 3 is another one for me. It was like the things I like on Volume 3. So what, So Ghetto's on Volume 3?
I hated Volume 3.
See, all right, So Ghetto.
I hated Volume 3.
Mariah Carey records
is on that one. Dope Man's on that one. Do It Again is on that one. What's the other one? There's another track on there. I mean, Big Pimpin', but there's another one that I'm like, okay, this one is hype. Outside of that, it's like,
it's passable.
it's kind of all right,
Yeah.
you know. And then we got Blueprint. It was like, oh, okay, thank you. The album that we've been waiting on you to put out for the last 5 years.
Are you reading anything, man? You have time to read?
Well, I just got my hands on the galley for the new Coates book.
I saw that. I saw you posted that. Yeah,
that's my next project.
Yeah. You know Ta-Nehisi, man?
Yeah.
Yeah, that dude is amazing, man.
Oh yeah, he's so much better at this than us. It's ridiculous, and I don't think he fully appreciates how much better he is at this than the rest.
I think he is he like an introvert, man? Is he?
I think that's a fair description.
Right. I've been trying to get him on the show for years, man.
Yeah, I think that's a fair description. I did the interview with him for Playboy last year.
How was he, man? They flew you out, right?
Yeah, they flew me to Paris.
Yeah.
I would have kicked it in Paris for a week to do that. He actually told me later, he was like, he read through it and he was like, that's me. He's like, he said that he didn't think anybody had really gotten that out of him. Yeah. And I think part of it is he and I had some, like I read both of the books, right? I read The Beautiful Struggle and then I read Between the World and Me. And I saw a lot of similarities in the way that he came up, but also I saw like a parallel between how he grew up and he talked about his younger brother in those books, and I saw parallels there and how I grew up relative to that. Like, we had very similar parents, I think is the best way to put it. And so there was a lot to his experience that I understood and that I think I was able to get into in ways that I'm not sure other people could have, because it's a very particular, I had Pan-African parents sort of experience. So I was able to, like, really get that from him. But no, like, when he's lucid, he's hilarious, right? Like, I really like the dude as a person, and he's really, I mean, Dude.
Listen, though, when his pen hits the paper.
Bro, when you're right.
When his motherfucking pen.
When word hits the streets that Ghost is written,
paper.
It's like, okay, we got something to go do.
Yo,
right
that
now.
I'm still ingesting his case for reparations.
Yes.
Still. Like that was an amazing.
I got a hard copy of it at the house. I had to buy a hard copy.
Crazy, man. Who else gets you excited, man, when they write?
Oh, man.
Or what gets you excited these days, man?
Dude, what gets me excited is the prospect of sleep.
Yes.
That is the biggest thing right now that gets me going. I've been like, this move has been so, like, moving to this city it takes a lot. Like, it's an all encompassing sort of thing. So I've been here now, I guess, about a month and a half, and that has just been the dominant thought. Is like, I'm still getting settled, man. Still getting these boxes out the living room. Went down to Chinatown to buy some lamps today. You know, try.
Yeah, it does take about a year and a half to get used to New York, man. But most people that come here and they survive it, after a year and a half they love it. Man.
Oh, y'all be all right. Well, here's the other thing too. If we're gonna be real about it,
what you think about this winter though? You think you're gonna survive this winter?
I mean, I get a coat.
Yeah,
that's all I can do, right?
That's all you need is a good fucking coat, right?
That's all I can do is get a coat.
I can't understand
and
people that live in New
boots.
York
Yes.
and complain about the cold. Get a fucking good coat.
All I can do is get a coat. Right?
Yes, sir.
That's it. What was I about? I was just about to say something. I forgot what it was already. You forgot what the question was already?
What else?
Acclimated.
What else gets you excited, man?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. There was one in between. Because I was actually struggling with the excitement level of it. Because I've been, stuck in this here world. I think we just all had a moment.
Yes, sir.
We're old. Like, I think that's just what happened.
And we're tired.
Yeah. We just all had a moment.
Yes,
but
sir.
It's all good.
Yo, Bomani, man. Anything else you want to announce, man? I mean, I'm glad. I mean, I look forward every time you drop the Evening Jones, man.
Yeah. We go.
I like that you keep that shit going, no matter how big you get, man.
I that's in my contract.
Yeah.
It is written into my contract that they have to let me do a weekly podcast.
And it's so smart that you never let go of the thing that got you here.
Yeah, I needed that, man. And part of why I needed it was I started doing the Evening Jones because I needed more places like to do sports. Like I needed an extra avenue for the sports stuff. Now I can't do that. ESPN makes the fair point that if I'm going to talk about sports, that I should do it for them. Right. So I'm like, okay, cool. Y'all got that. But that actually turned out to be a blessing because then that meant the Evening Jones could take a life of its own. So if you weren't a sports person, then you could get into it. Like that's where it could go. Oh, this is what I was going to say. Talk about like New York in a year and a half and taking time.
Yeah.
One thing I readily admit, and I guess this counts as humble brag, but this is the truth. The thing that tears people up about living in New York is surviving, man. Figuring out how to pay all these bills.
New York is fucking expensive.
It's expensive.
More so than Miami, right?
Yes, absolutely.
You got to be rich.
Yeah.
To be poor here.
Yeah. But I'm good.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I mean, but that's a real thing, though. Like, the exhaustion that people have just trying to keep their head above water is something that I don't really have to be concerned with.
Right.
So, in terms of enjoying it, I've had a great time with it because I'm also not sweating like, damn, another cab ride?
Yeah.
Now
Another
you take me back a little while. Whoa, no. And that ain't even like 10 years ago.
Yeah.
Like 5. Like, yo, man.
Yeah, this is still new money to you.
Yeah. Like, we'll be having water, Like, yo, man, this is.
So, you really careful with your money, man?
I am operating. I am. It's not even so much that I'm so careful as much as my tastes are fairly minimal.
Yes.
Right. Like
that's a nice timepiece, sir.
Well, that was
a very nice timepiece.
That was the thing I did for myself.
Yes.
Like after I signed the last contract, this is what I did for myself.
That's a great thing that you did for yourself.
Yeah, I got the car and I got the watch, and then I had to sell the car.
Yes.
And that hurt.
There you go.
That hurt bad.
Yeah.
It
doesn't make sense to drive here, dude.
No, especially not the car I had, but
right.
it still didn't.
What were you driving?
I went and got an M4, man. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
It hurts you hearing I had to sell that car. That's what everybody said. It's like, damn, you had to sell that. And it was like, yeah.
Was it a good return?
It was good enough.
Yeah, that's good.
It was good enough. Was that?
2-door.
Yeah, it was cool.
That's right.
Well, the thing was that I waited until I got to the last year of the previous contract to get the car because ain't none of this promise, right?
Right, of course.
And so I had come into a little money.
Which is very smart.
Okay, I was like, okay, I'll go ahead and get the car. And man, that thing made noises, man. Ooh, it made noises. It did.
Were you a different animal in that car, sir?
I could be.
Did it change you?
Here's the most fun I had in that car. I took it home for Christmas last year so my parents could see the car. And I took my mom.
What color?
It was mineral white.
Okay.
So I took my
mineral.
mom. Yeah, that's what they call
Internet.
it.
So
That's
that
what they call
mineral.
it. Mineral. Off-white.
Yeah.
Eggshell.
Yes,
So I took my mom out, and we driving down this back road. I'm going like 85 miles an hour in a 30, and I look over at her. She could not have been more proud. Like, there's no way in the world that she could have been more proud. Like, that was a baby, we made it, right? Like, I'm whipping around in that bad boy. making curves, all of this. And I also learned in that moment that, like, I don't know what my dad was driving at that time, but if he had a Mustang, he had a chance. Like, I could tell she very much so appreciated this piece of machinery. And that was probably the most fun that I'd had. When my parents came to visit my last spot in Miami, and like watching my dad on the balcony looking at the water, like, that was the moment where I was like, okay, for him, it was just like, he was like,
it's amazing.
He was like, I'll be damned. But my mom would ride with me in that car while I'm doing crazy, reckless things. That was the maiden moment, like, right there with her. That's amazing, man. She loved it.
That's amazing, man. Congratulations for everything.
Thank you, man. I appreciate it.
And continued success.
I'm trying, man.
We're right here, man.
That's what I was about to say. We're here now.
We're neighbors right now.
I say, you the one, man. I got people coming up to me talking about the mogul and everything
else.
And I tell people, this is the thing, man. You used to listen to me on Sirius.
Yes.
Now I listen to you on Sirius.
Yes.
That whole crew and people we had around the Morning Jones,
05, 05, 04, 05 was an amazing time.
And then we get to 2010, like the Morning Jones starts coming, and all the people around that's got podcasts and things that they've managed to make work. You know, my man Corey's now doing the boxing stuff for Showtime.
Yes, sir.
You know, so he's made it on his thing. Like, that turned out just to be a place of a whole bunch of people who were in the beginning of doing some cool things, and then we fast forward and we living, man.
We living, man. We doing it, man. Once again, sir, it's always an honor to see you,
man.
Yo, stop by, man. Stop by. You could be like a co-host.
Oh no, dude! You know I'm here.
Like who do you want to see on the show? If you want to see, if there's somebody you want to see on the show,
tell you, man, you get this is a good one because you had so many of the people that I would and did like want to see on the show. Like since we can't get Pimp C on the show, which I think would actually have been like the most fascinating
Pimp C,
of anybody.
R.I.P. Pimp C
that we could have had. I mean, have you had Gucci on yet?
No, not yet. Not yet.
I actually just got a copy of his autobiography that I need to read. We had him on Highly Questionable because one of the cool things about Highly Questionable was my dad called me. My dad's 80 years old, right? Dad called me, hey, man, I got to say, I learned a lot about these rappers from your show. Like, he's just like, yeah, you know, I hadn't thought that much of them, but now I find myself looking them up and finding out this story. Is it Gucci? He was totally fascinated
he likes Gucci,
by the interview. Oh, yeah, he loves the Ray Sherman boys, too.
That was a good episode, man.
Oh, yeah, he asked me, he'd be like, yo, man, so how them boys from Tupelo doing? Like this is what it is. But Gucci, there's no way you could have told us in 2005 that, like, basically the sound of the industry would shoot off of what Gucci was doing, like, before he made that last trip to jail. Yeah. Especially because we was clowning it. Yeah. Like, we basically had to have, like, committee meetings where we're like,
what was that first single he did with
So Icy.
So Icy with
Jeezy.
With Jeezy, yeah.
But at that point, we were really getting together, like, so, like, is it okay to say we rock with this?
Right.
Like,
is the South really going to win?
Yeah, like, are we cool? Because that was it. Like, that was the one we're just like,
is the South going to win?
Right, we're like, it's really catchy, but are we allowed to like this just because it's catchy? And then he did a show at the Tabernacle in Atlanta just a few days ago and apparently cracked that bad boy out and shut it down.
Legendary status, B.
Right, like the idea that Jeezy had a 10th anniversary concert for TM 101 and filled up the box.
Crazy.
Like, and that was another one where we were like, so, I mean, this is jamming, but, like, are we okay with this? Like,
was it Thug Motivation?
Thug Motivation, right. It was one where we were like, okay, this is jamming, and we'll work the rest of this out later. And then, of course, he got way better, as a rapper to where you didn't have to ask these questions anymore.
He's a fucking statesman right now.
How? Right?
I mean, you know, hard work.
Right, you know.
Smart, you know, intelligent, right moves.
Like on 15 different levels. Yes. The fact that Jeezy is just still out here living the life is like hard to consider.
I'm still bugging at the South won, man.
We did win. You know why the South won, though? Because the South music was always based on feeling and emotion rather than an overemphasis on technical skill. And feeling and emotion is always what drives in music.
Which is why Tupac is a legend, right?
Right. It doesn't matter if you like Tupac. Right. It does not matter if you're a fan.
You
can't deny it.
I finally got that about Tupac, like maybe about 3 years ago.
Yeah.
I think it might have been Ninth Wonder or Young Guru, and they explained that shit to me. Like, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, no, you had to shake a lot off to get to this Tupac thing.
I had to. Like, I was, I was hating Tupac. I was hating on Tupac. But like right now, when I listen, I'm like, damn, nobody can really fuck with this.
Yeah, like I'm not the biggest Tupac fan, but part of it is I didn't live that life.
Right.
Like my childhood was happy. There's a whole segment, but I'm dead serious though. Right. There's a whole segment of people where they're like, yo, that is my life.
Is my patron
that
saint.
Is what I lived.
Right.
It's like when you can't argue with people about Allen Iverson. They're not arguing with you about basketball. They're arguing with you about their lives. That's the same thing with Tupac.
Yes, sir.
You could be in here, man, he ain't have no metaphors. Look at how this, like Boosie's, like Lil Boosie the same way. Boosie. Grown men crying in his presence. You gonna talk to me about if he can rap? It don't matter. Look at this.
He's better off not being able to rap.
Right.
You know what I'm saying?
And he kind of can rap.
Yes.
Right? But it didn't matter. Like the way that people feel is like what it gets down to.
Yo, you know, we just had what's his name? Ace Hood on the show.
Yeah.
Amazing dude, man. You ever speak to that dude? Amazing story, man. Just like this dude is into yoga and he's into like meditation and like fucking lucid dreaming. I'm like, what? What? Is this what we doing right now in rap? A nigga named Ace Hood?
Yes.
Man, I love it, man.
Hey, man, we all started a place and then we wind up wherever it is the place that we go.
Yes,
Evolution.
Sir. Yes, sir. Bomani, man, thank you
Dude,
so much,
thank you, man.
And looking forward to your show, man.
January 2nd, 2018. I'm telling you, man, it's going to be good.
Yes, sir.
Like, I feel
of course. I mean,
confident.
when have you not been good? Like from the blogs?
Well, see, that was the part I wasn't going to say out loud. But it's been a long time since I dropped a brick.
Yeah.
Right? And if this the brick.
I mean.
Talk nice.
But it
has. I mean, it really has. It's been a long time. And if this the brick, then this is going to be the brick.
Yes,
and I can live with that.
It will not be a brick, sir.
But it's not. It's not going to be a brick.
Talk your shit, B. Talk your shit.
It will, like I say, at the very least, because I'll be working with people who will not allow it to be a brick. Like, I think I've learned a lot about letting other people do the work they're supposed to do. And I think
that's what it is. Get out the way and let them do their work. Ladies and gentlemen, Bomani Jones. Yo, King, man, what's up?
Yo, it's dope, man. Shout out to Bomani. Yo, hit him up on Twitter if you want to take him out to Sweet Chick. Get him acclimated with some of these fine cuisine spots out in the city. You know what I mean?
Brooklyn. There's two
bring them Brooklyn.
Come to Brooklyn.
Come to Brooklyn on the weekend.
Yeah. Where you at?
Well, I usually my producer on Highly Questionable. He is an investor in a restaurant in Fort Greene. So I normally come out and catch him for brunch.
Okay,
nice. Out there on Sundays.
That's nice.
On I don't know how y'all pronounce it here. It's DeKalb in Atlanta.
DeKalb.
That's how y'all do it.
DeKalb, Houston.
Yeah, I knew Houston.
Houston,
I knew.
Nostrand.
I do, yeah.
Yeah, motherfuckers be fucking up Nostrand.
I listen to rap music, man. Like, that's the one thing about Brooklyn. They be like, all of a sudden, all these things make sense now.
Oh, that's Nostrand.
Myrtle. Oh, it's a street, not a beach.
You eat Caribbean food?
Yeah, I do that.
All right, cool.
Yeah,
take it to a Caribbean spot.
Yeah, hit me, dude. Hit me the game. I am down to figure this crazy place out.
Yeah, we'll help you figure it out, man. I'm still trying to figure it out, man. I'm still trying to figure it out. Yo, King, let's take this off, man.
Dream those dreams.
Yeah, internets, you know what it is. Dream those dreams and then man up, woman up, and live those dreams because a life without dreams is black and white and the universe flows in Technicolor and surround sound. Blow. Thank you, sir.
Oh, man, I appreciate you.
We appreciate you, man.